Seguin, New Braunfels. Where's everybody moving these days? People are still moving to Texas. They're still moving to this area, but where are they choosing? Are they choosing New Braunfels like everybody's been doing? Or are they choosing Seguin? Stick around and I'll let you know where everybody's moving and why. Hey y'all, it's Matt Wood living in New Braunfels, Texas, your go-to New Braunfels and Seguin realtor. All right, I've been doing this channel for well over 5 years. We're almost at 6 years old now. And so many of you subscribe and you're watching, and I've had so many people, like dozens and dozens of families and individuals even, that have called me and wanted to make New Braunfels or Seguin or this area their home, and I can do the same for you. If it's your first time watching, make sure you go and hit that subscribe button and also give the video a like and let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job. Anyway, that's out of the way. Today, what we're going to talk about is where are people moving? So back in like 2020, when I first started this channel, everybody's moving to New Braunfels. Had a few that were moving to Seguin, and then it's kind of shifted to where people were moving to both. New Braunfels is a great place, Seguin is a great place, and today we're going to dive into why people are choosing one city over the other recently, and maybe that's going to help you decide where you want to buy your home as well. As I'm sure you know, New Braunfels is one of the fastest growing cities in the US. Like at one point, I think it was number 2. We're still up there like in the top 5, the top fastest growing cities in the US. I moved here because I worked for the police department, right? I got on with the police department back in 2009, and I moved here in 2009 to be here. At that time, we were under 50,000 people in population. Now it's just over 100,000. So since 2009, in 16 years, we have more than doubled in population. And we saw the big boom starting in 2020, 2021. COVID was happening. People could move anywhere that they wanted because they're working from home, or maybe they were just tired of where they were living, right? So I've had a lot of people that have moved from California. So I think most of the people that, like the biggest percentage of folks that moved from out of state came from California. And I've had quite a few that came from like Murrieta, Temecula, and Winchester, that area, kind of like northeast of San Diego. And what they say is like, oh, New Braunfels reminds us quite a bit of Murrieta. Anyway, if you're watching from there, let me know. Doesn't matter. Wherever you're watching from, just drop that in the comments. I appreciate that. I like to see where everybody's at. But New Braunfels just blew up. And, in 2021, whenever, rates went down, 2020, 2021, rates are down, there's a big demand and prices just started skyrocketing because people were offering above asking price. We had to do that as well. We had a house fire, so we were forced to move. And, we bought one in 2020, and then a year and a day later, in 2021, we bought another one. Had about the same interest rate, but had to end up paying like $30,000 above asking price. But that's what the market was doing. There weren't enough sellers and there were too many buyers. Since then, we've had a little bit of a correction, all right? We haven't had that huge, like 20% increases in value going year over year. So some have actually come down or not appreciated as much, but there hasn't been like a bust or anything like that. I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't foresee that happening, especially in this area. But around that time, people were starting to get, Seguin's getting on the radar. I remember, when was this? This was like 2011, 2012 timeframe. D.R. Horton opened up a community in Seguin off of Highway 123, and it was an express community. So that means like they only built like so many houses and they only had so many things, and it was all spec homes. So there was no like building from dirt or anything like that. And it sold out fast. Perry was already here, and then D.R. Horton came, and I'm like, I wasn't even a realtor yet at that time, but I'm like, if D.R. Horton's building here, if they see the potential in Seguin, then Seguin's going to blow up. And that's what's happened. Seguin's like in the top 30 fastest growing cities in the U.S. under 100,000, because they're not at 100,000 yet. I think they're like between like 30 and 40,000, maybe 40 and 50 by now. And some of it is in Seguin proper within the Seguin city limits, but some of it is just going to be north of Seguin, outside the city limits, there in the Navarro ISD. So just north of Seguin, that's where it's seen the biggest growth between Seguin and New Braunfels. And it's not slowing down. Seguin is New Braunfels, just about 10 to 15 years behind it. Not knocking Seguin, not knocking New Braunfels or anything like that. I love both cities. But I want to talk to you about where I've had people moving recently, just in the last year. And most of those are moving to Seguin, and here is why. The short answer is your dollar goes a lot further, especially if you're a home buyer. That's the people that I'm talking to, right? People that are going to be buying homes. Your dollar just goes further in Seguin. So yeah, the dollar goes so much further, and people that matters to people, especially now when rates are kind of high. A lot higher than they were. So back when they were in the twos and the threes, people are buying like crazy, and we did the same thing, right? Now with them floating around six, it might go a little bit higher, it might go a little bit lower, depending on what you're doing, what kind of loan you're going to get. They're around 6%. So I wish they would come down to like 5% would be awesome, because that's pretty healthy. Like the first house I bought, I think I had like, well, I used a Homes for Heroes because I was a police officer, but I had 5. And I think the market rate at the time was like maybe 4.5. So I had to pay a little bit more, but we were at 4.5, and that was pretty healthy. And I think I ended up refinancing later on to like 4.375, something like that. But anyway, with rates being what they are, a lot of people are buying new homes. So all, actually, all the purchases of all the buyers that I've helped this year, only one has bought a resale. Everybody else has been buying new homes. And one of the reasons why people are buying new homes is these big home builders, such as like say D.R. Horton, who's like one of the biggest home builders in the U.S., if not the biggest, and Perry Homes. Those are the two we're gonna look at today with home prices. What they can do is they can pre-purchase a rate buy down. So rates might be at 6%, right? But they're gonna go and they're gonna put so much money towards buying down the rate to like 3.99 or 4.99. So a percent or 2%, okay? And then they can offer that to the buyers. And so people are taking advantage of it. It's still happening. At the time of this video recording, the beginning of December, some of these builders are still offering, 3.99, 4.99. It's a much better interest rate than what you're going to find on the market with like say a resale home, without having to like get money from a private seller and get closing costs to kind of buy down your rate. These builders are doing it because guess what? They still have to build homes. They can't just pause and not sell their homes like you would on a resale. They're like, oh no, we're not going to sell right now. No, they have to, because that's their business. And that's what folks have been taking advantage of. I have one that we're closing on it next week. So it was with D.R. Horton. We'll have to check and see if it's still available, but they're an investor. It's their first investment home, and they chose Seguin over New Braunfels. And they were able to get an adjustable rate mortgage. I'll fill you in on that. An adjustable rate mortgage at 3.875. So that's the lowest that I've seen in a long, long time. However, that 3.875 is locked in for 5 years. After that, it can start going up. But for 5 years, they're locked in at 3.875, which is pretty amazing. The other stuff that people are getting are 3.99, 4.99, closing costs paid. We've been getting their appliance packages, so washers, dryers, a fridge, a garage door opener, blinds, things like that. These builders are pretty much like they have to give away as much as they can so they can sell the homes. They got to be able to show their stakeholders and everything like that, and their partners, that they're still selling homes. But tell you what, let's take a look at why they're choosing it. So it's not just the rates and everything, but you can, and like I said in the beginning, your dollar goes further in Seguin, which is nuts because they're not that far apart. The two communities that I'm going to show you they're maybe 20 minutes away, a 20-minute drive, right? The first one we're going to look at right here, it's going to be a D.R. Horton community called Winding Creek. It's just south of New Braunfels off of FM 1044. And it's actually in the Marion Independent School District. But I mean, you look outside and you see New Braunfels, right? You can see Long Creek High School. It's just outside the city limits. But yeah, so right here, we're looking at a 1489 square foot home and a 1396 square foot home. Look at this 1489. It is $297,000, $297,549. Okay, for 1489 square feet. Now, okay, I don't have one that's the exact same floor plan, but this one's 1434 square feet. We're only like 60 square feet difference, okay? 249.9. So 250 compared to almost 300. That's an almost $50,000 difference for the same size house. All right. So this one's in Marion ISD. Okay. Seguin address, or I'm sorry, Marion ISD and a New Braunfels address. This one's in Seguin ISD and a Seguin address. Basically 250, almost 300. That's a big difference in payment. When you're considering it, or if you're paying cash, say you're an investor, because I've had a couple of them now that are looking at these for investment opportunities. And actually one more from Chicago. Yep, see ya. That's a big difference. It matters. Even with a 3.99 or 4.99% interest rate, you got a $50,000 difference. I mean, you're looking at, $300-400 a month difference if you're making a payment on it. And a lot of folks are buying with D.R. Horton. I've had a couple of them bought with Legend Homes. Those two were in New Braunfels. But even with the Legend Homes, oh, you know what? I want to go pull those up. We're going to look at the ones, and I'm not, you're good with either one. You're going to pick which neighborhood is going to be best for you, right? Maybe you got kids and you prefer one school district over another. That's totally okay. And then, okay, got the Legend Homes pulled up. So here we go in New Braunfels. So this is in Dower Ranch, 1384 square feet. 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1384 square feet. Okay, here's a 4-bed, 2.5 bath at 1745 square feet. You can see these prices. Basically 285,000, 295,000. 285,000 for 1384 square feet. 295 for 1745 square feet. Look at these in Swenson Heights, just a few minutes away, just a few minutes down Highway 46. 1697 square feet, so even bigger. So it's 1697, and it's 264.9. Okay, compared to 284, a $20,000 difference, and a 300 square foot bigger. Or yeah. So why wouldn't you? Maybe you're considering, and then honestly, these right here in Swenson Heights, those are in Navarro ISD, award-winning school district. There's a couple of these houses that I've seen. 1,200 Sweden, 21 square feet. That one's 294.9, but I'll tell you what, that one's a corner lot, and it's huge. Okay, this one, 1745, 1721. They're about the same size. Okay, the same price. But look, you've got homes on each side of this one. This one is a corner lot, and like I said, it's a huge lot. If you wanted to put a pool in, you've got more than enough room, because you got plenty of room in the back, and plus you can move the fence up if you wanted to. You got a bunch of side yard. But just a few minutes from each other, and you've got these big differences, in price. Now let's look at Perry. I've talked to y'all about Perry quite a bit, and we're going to look at 2 Perry homes. Now these aren't available. These are to build. This is the starting price on these homes, okay? So, and this is apples to apples. This is the exact same floor plan that we're going to be looking at with Perry homes. 2127 square feet, okay? They don't mince words. They don't give it names or anything like that. It's just the 2127. To build starts at $489.9, so $490,000. Okay, we're going to look at the same one. This is at Legacy at Lake Dunlap. This is in Meadows of Mill Creek, 2127 square feet, $429. 489, 429. Can y'all do the math? $60,000 difference. They are 7 minutes apart from each other. You can leave Meadows at Mill Creek. You can drive down Rudolph, turn up 46, drive up, turn into the Legacy at Lake Dunlap. It's like 7 minutes away. All right, it's $60,000 difference, because the one for $489 is in New Braunfels, the one for $429 that starts out at that price is in Seguin and in Navarro ISD. So if you're thinking about moving here, why wouldn't you consider Seguin? Everybody that I've talked to recently, when I tell them about Seguin, they're like, oh man, I didn't even think about that. The investors that I was working with, You know, they wanted New Braunfels. They were here visiting. You know, they had been out here before. They were visiting. They were in town for Fest, and we went and met up. And I'm like, hey, why don't we check out Seguin? Let me show you some stuff over there. So we did. We started in Seguin at Arroyo Ranch, at D.R. Horton, and then we moved up and we looked at some KB homes. Actually, I think we looked at all Seguin because I showed them the prices that were in New Braunfels. I'm like, yeah, let's check it out. And they ended up buying with the D.R. Horton. And then I had some other folks that called me up. They're moving in from, you know, close to the West Coast and they wanted New Braunfels. And I'm like, okay, cool. So price was a factor. And I'm like, let's check out Seguin. He's like, oh, because he had lived here before, right? Somebody that lived here before in this area. And, but it'd been a long time. It's been like 20 years. And I was like, they're like, really, Seguin? I'm like, yeah, let's go over there and check it out. So we met up. I showed them some stuff and everything. We went and met in Seguin and we looked at different communities. All right. We looked at D.R. Horton. We looked at, they had already looked at Lennar and kind of eliminated it, but looked at Syntax. We looked at Perry. We looked at Perry at Meadows and Mill Creek, and we also went to Psalms Landing. So we looked at two different communities, one in Seguin and one in New Braunfels. Everybody loves Perry. Reason why is because they're great, okay? But that was just kind of out of the price range. We went and looked at Del Webb and Veramendi. I just did a video about that one, right? And Syntax. And so we looked in Seguin, we looked in New Braunfels. I sent them different ones, you know, because they were like, hey, we could pay this cash or we could go this much higher and maybe not more than 400. I sent them Toll Brothers. Toll Brothers had something in Seguin. Toll Brothers, they're like a kind of production, kind of custom home builders, right? They had one in Seguin that was under 400,000, but they ended up choosing, you know, Seguin and a D.R. Horton because of the price. And plus what D.R. Horton was having to offer. So that's my long way of saying, hey, your money's going to go a lot further in Seguin. If money matters, okay, if it doesn't matter and you absolutely want a certain community, because the one buyer that I had that bought a resale home, they bought here in Vintage Oaks where I live. But it's their forever home, right? They had more money to spend. We bought one that was close to $1 million on an acre, beautiful home. It was built by JLP Custom Builders. And that was good for them. That was what worked for them. But all my other buyers that I've had this year are more price conscious, okay? Maybe first-time home buyers. Some are relocating. Some buying their first investment home. If any of those fit your, you know, what you are, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. All that contact information is down below, okay? I can help you out because I've helped dozens of families either buy an investment property here. Well, a few have bought investment properties. They're retirement homes, first homes, or they're relocating, okay? And I can help you out too. Until next time, y'all take care. Remember, your dollar goes a lot further in Seguin. We'll see you in the next video.